Hello. In this video, I hope you will learn a little about the science of learning and also have more tools to help the students whom you are tutoring. My name is Denise Waterfield, and I am a nurse specialist for UNMC in Kearney. Students may come to you when things are piling up a bit, perhaps even some information overload. I'd like to share with you some components of a learning theory called the cognitive load theory that may help. This theory has been applied specifically for learning health sciences and has shown to be successful with students. Tip 1 is to understand memory. Generally speaking, we have two types of memory. Working memory is a part of short-term memory. We can hold between 5 and 9 new items in working memory, and it usually stays with us less than 2 minutes. Long-term memory is limitless, and it can stay with us indefinitely. The holding capacity difference between the two types of memory can be a problem if we try to deal with too many different pieces of information at once. That information bottlenecks in our brains. This happens both ways, learning new information as well as retrieving information from long-term memory. You can see why we can easily get overloaded. Tip number 2, understand cognitive load, or the effort required to learn. There are 3 types of cognitive load. Intrinsic load is the difficulty of the information. Extrinsic load includes distractors, and germane load is the effort needed to process and organize the new information to store in the long-term memory. Our goal should be to help students decrease the difficulty of the content, or intrinsic load, and decrease distractions, or extrinsic load, and increase the organization of the information in their minds, or the germane load. So learning doesn't necessarily require less effort. Instead, the greatest effort should be where it is most beneficial. Tip 3, decrease intrinsic load or the difficulty of the information. One example of a difficult concept is the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. This is a complex hormone system that regulates blood pressure, fluid and electrolyte balance, and systemic vascular resistance. Just by looking at the diagram, one can sense the difficulty level. One way to decrease the difficulty is to break it down into components. Does the student know what renal perfusion is? What is ADH? What does reabsorption mean in the kidneys? How does circulating volume change? What else happens with sympathetic activity? Understanding the components helps to understand the more complex activities in the body. The 4th tip is to decrease extrinsic load or distractions. I'm sure you can think of obvious distractions, but having multiple sources of the same information is distracting and requires unnecessary mental processing. One way to decrease redundancy of information is to have one customized document that you study. A simple tip that I have given students is to convert PowerPoint files into text documents. You can change the view of a PowerPoint to outline view. This will give you a view of the text only on the left side of the screen. Then you can cut and paste it into a document. That document can then be used for note-taking, and all of your information is in one place. Dual coding is tip number 5. As shown in this drawing that I made while I was studying the lungs, both visual and verbal information can be used to represent a concept and are each processed differently. If we process a concept with images and words, either spoken or written, then we increase our chances of remembering. Tip 6, increase germane load, or the effort of processing information for long-term memory. Just like building a house requires plans and effort, so does permanent storage of information. Our brains store long-term memories in schema or well-organized patterns and maps. We rarely remember information if it isn't connected to other items in a schema. One course in the plan of study centers on healthcare policy. To best learn about healthcare policy, one has to build on existing foundations in areas like politics, economy, organizations, and government. This is a great example of connecting new information to existing information. So in conclusion, try to help students decrease their mental effort related to intrinsic and extrinsic cognitive loads so they can spend the most time and effort on the germane load. Thank you so much for watching, and a special thank you for tutoring. Please feel free to send me an email if I can help you, and good luck with your program.